all throughout Africa, and East Africa is no exception. The countries on the continent are pissed at Donald Trump. They believe that Trump is blowing up the world order and all of the goodwill that former President Biden helped establish in various African nations. Donald Trump has wiped out instantly. And you know who has pounced on that? Xi Jinping of China. Should be noted that Africa is one of the fastest growing digital continents in the United States, probably the fastest growing digital continent. A lot of big business growing there. And it's important that we invest in Africa. If you take a look in East Africa, for example, in the Republic of Kenya, which now has the largest economy in East Africa, about 131.67 billion. So about 4 or 5 times the GDP of El Salvador, which Donald Trump loves so much. There, the Kenyan president, William Ruto, basically said that Trump has just created a death blow to the current world order, a death blow, he said. And then shortly after making those remarks, as Donald Trump tariffed the world, President Ruto of the Republic of Kenya took a state visit to China to meet with Xi Jinping. So as Donald Trump has been lying this whole week and faking having conversations with Xi Jinping, further humiliating the United States, we know what Xi Jinping was doing. He was giving a state welcome, a big celebratory visit to the leader of Kenya, President Ruto. Now, it should be noted how strategically smart former President Biden was right here. So who was the ambassador to the Republic of Kenya under former President Biden's administration? It was Meg Whitman, the former CEO of eBay and HP. And it was a very strong and powerful showing by former President Biden that he was committed not just to the Republic of Kenya, but also to the entire continent in Africa, and that it was an important priority for him to invest in Africa. Now, we know that China has sought this foothold in Africa through their Belt and Road, or their Bridge and Road initiatives, the New Silk Road, where they've spent billions in different African nations. They've helped build government buildings. They've helped build highways there because they understand the strategic importance of Africa to China and building goodwill and what that could ultimately do. They have strong power. They have soft power. A lot of what the United States was doing also with USAID, which Trump and Elon Musk gutted, was kind of similar, in trying to help out African nations and show solidarity with countries. So let me show you what went down. As I mentioned, President William Ruto of Kenya, after saying that Trump issued a death blow to the world order, he meets with Xi Jinping. He goes to China. He's in Beijing. He thanks Xi Jinping for the tens of millions of dollars in support for health, education, and disaster relief, as well as for the planned construction of a new complex for Kenya's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And by the way, you take a look at Ruto's background, you would think that he would be someone who Donald Trump would try to cultivate, an evangelical Christian from a modest background who was elected on promises to help Kenya's poor in a country that was struggling with debt. Think about this. You've seen my reporting from this past week. Donald Trump has denied emergency aid to red states like Arkansas, to Kentucky, to Georgia, for like debris removal, things caused by flooding, tornadoes, Hurricane Helene. North Carolina, Donald Trump stopped emergency relief. China is giving emergency disaster relief to Kenya, not just Kenya, across the world. Why? They also want Kenya to join the BRICS bloc. And China is making their play right now. And they also uniquely understand that that Africa in general is the fastest growing digital continent. And in under 100 days, Trump has just totally destroyed America's presence there. Let me show you what went down when you had President Ruto of Kenya show up at the state visit in China this past week. Let me just show you what it looks like. Play this clip. Here's how France 24 correspondent talks about it. Let's play this clip.
On Tuesday, Kenya's President William Ruto arrived in Beijing for talks aimed at increasing investment and trade. China is already Kenya's biggest lender. They funded massive road, railway and power projects. Ruto is hoping to expand that partnership, especially in the manufacturing and digital infrastructure sectors.
So in contrast, let me just share with you how Donald Trump just talks about Africa in general, how he just overgeneralizes Africa, and how he makes just the discussions of African nations like into a joke. So I just showed you that. This was Donald Trump from the joint address he gave to Congress. Play this clip.
$8 million to promote LGBTQI+ in the African nation of Lesotho, which nobody has ever heard of.
Here's what Donald Trump said about Congo in the Oval Office over the past few weeks. But I'll just show you this one clip. But he says this over and over again. Play this clip.
All over the world, the Congo and Africa. Many, many people come from the Congo. I don't know what that is, but they came from the Congo. And all over the world, they came in, opened it.
And then Donald Trump posted this on Friday. Big news coming out of Africa, where I am also involved in settling violent wars and conflicts. I don't know why so many of these events have fallen to me in my administration, but they have. And we have done an unprecedented job in getting them settled or putting them in a position for peace. Stay tuned! Exclamation point, as our editor-in-chief Ron Filipkowski writes. While on his trip to Italy for the Pope's funeral, Trump says he is ending violent wars and conflicts in Africa. And again, Donald Trump has no understanding for cultural differences within Africa, what nations are in Africa. And I'll show you this as well. As Donald Trump continues to demean African nations, Donald Trump has said horrible things about South Africa. He and Elon Musk have just said, the worst things about the government there, imaginable executive orders about South Africa. The European Union Commission and European Union leaders have stepped up, and they also see U.S. weakness under Trump. And so they've talked about, we like diversity, we're for you, we're with you. Watch what they put together in the European Union Commission and European leaders. Play this clip.
Sani Bonani, Ninjani. Today we have a joint event by the EU, France, Italy and Germany. And we have many parallels between the European Union and South Africa.
Like you, we are committed to multilateralism, rule-based international order, and more equity and justice in the world.
Just like you, we love our constitutional rights and protections, and we do believe in a non-racial, non-sexist democracy.
Like you, we pursue the values of solidarity, equality, and sustainability. As South Africa's most important trading partner, investment partner, and partner in values, you can rely on the European Union and its member states during G20 presidency in 2025 and beyond.
United in diversity, or as they say, play, play.
Did you know Fast Growing Trees is the biggest online nursery in the US with thousands of different plants and over 2 million happy customers? They have all the plants your yard needs, like fruit trees, privacy trees, flowering trees, shrubs, and so much more. Whatever plants you're interested in, Fast Growing Trees has you covered. Find the perfect fit for your climate and space. Fast Growing Trees makes it easy to get your dream yard. Order online and get your plants delivered directly to your door in just a few days without ever leaving home. Their Live and Thrive guarantee ensures your plants arrive happy and healthy. Plus, get support from trained plant experts on call to help you plan your landscape, choose the right plants, and learn how to care for them. I got a lemon tree from Fast Growing Trees, and it's my favorite thing in my yard. I was worried about ordering plants online, but it arrived fresh, strong, and ready to plant. Plus, now I get to just walk outside and pick my own citrus, not to mention it smells amazing every time I go out. And by the way, big yard, small yard, no yard at all, doesn't matter. Fast Growing Trees has over 6,000 plants to fit any space, from indoor plants to fruit trees to full-size privacy trees and more. Fast Growing Trees has plant experts on call, so if you're like me and don't have a green thumb, they'll help you choose the right plant and keep it thriving. This spring, they have the best deals for your yard, up to half off on select plants and other deals. And listeners to our show get 15% off their first purchase when using the code Meidas at checkout. That's an additional 15% off at fastgrowingtrees.com using the code Meidas, M-E-I-D-A-S, at checkout. Fastgrowingtrees.com, code Meidas. Now is the perfect time to plant. Use Meidas to save today. Offer is valid for a limited time. Terms and conditions may apply.
Okay, now let me just rewind for a moment and show you saw the state visit, Kenya, in Beijing, President Ruto. This is former President Biden. He posted on May 26, 2024. It's not all that long ago. A year ago, little more than a year ago. America and Kenya, divided by distance, united by democratic values. Think about that. And here's the video he posted.
President Ruto, Mrs. Ruto, it's an honor to welcome you to the White House to celebrate 60 years of partnership between Kenya and the United States. At the stroke of midnight on December 12, 1963, the world changed. Many Americans and many people around the world watched with great hope as hundreds of thousands of Kenyans came together, raised a new flag, declared their freedom, and gave life to a new nation. It was a moment that forever connected our two nations. Together, the United States and Kenya are working to deliver on the challenges that matter most to our people's lives: health security, economic security, cyber security, and climate security. Across the region, Kenya and America are driving a race to the top with investments that we have and high standards for workers, technology, and environment. The past is our proof that we are stronger and the world is safer when Kenya and the United States work together.
And then from that state visit that former President Biden gave to President Ruto, he said, "Today I am optimistic and hopeful, as I was all those years ago when Kenyan patriots raised a new flag high into the midnight sky. Kenya and the United States stand together, committed to each other, committed to our people, and committed to building a better world." Now, Meg Whitman, again, what an incredible ambassador to have in Kenya, given her background. And why is she a perfect fit? Because in Kenya, entrepreneurial spirit, building business. I know Donald Trump thinks Africa's all war and conflict, but entrepreneurial spirit, digital expanding economy, growth, semiconductor chips, AI. There's a lot to do there and a lot that China's trying to do. So former President Biden's playing the geopolitical game and having an entrepreneur like Meg Whitman, like an all-star. She explains how she was picked to be the ambassador. She goes, "Joe Biden called me and said, 'Hey, Meg, I want you to be an ambassador.' And before I can say anything, he said, 'I want you to go to Kenya.' I said, 'Kenya?' I was thinking France." But she then goes on to talk about why it was so important. Here's just a small portion of Meg Whitman's Honorable Margaret Whitman, she goes by Meg. Her quick interview that she gave recently at the Princeton School of Public International Affairs. Play this clip.
So I became convinced that the number one thing I could add value as non-career diplomat is jobs, 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 and attracting foreign direct investment and helping to shape the economic investment climate so Kenyan firms could grow and thrive. So we worked together on what changes from a legal and regulatory standpoint would help companies, and then how do you change the narrative on Africa and Kenya? I know that when I was at HP and eBay, I thought about Africa 1% of the time. Yeah. I got it. But I got things going on in Europe and Latin America and Asia, and Africa's a really long way away. And I think the narrative among most business people in America is 30 or 40 years old. They don't understand the economic situation. They don't understand the demographics, and they don't understand the potential of many of the countries in Africa. So the very first thing we had to do was to start off by changing the narrative and then changing the regulatory environment to make foreign direct investment and, frankly, the Kenyan dynamic economy more able to succeed.
I think it's so important that the news cover this stuff. Now that we have this major platform at the MeidasTouch Network, the same way I cover news in Canada, I cover news in Australia, in Europe, South America, and Mexico, Central America, and elsewhere. I think it's so important that we cover what's going on in Africa, East Africa, Kenya, when we talk about the geopolitical ramifications of Donald Trump's destruction of America's power in the world. And we're seeing it in real time this past week. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 5 million subscribers.
The truth is more important than ever. Check out our new Truth Over Lies collection at store.meidastouch.com. All 100% USA union made.